All right, welcome into the Walkout presented by Joseph Toyota of Cincinnati. Paul Dehner Jr. and Charlie Goldsmith coming to you. I'm still in Paycor Stadium. Charlie, you have gone back over to your spot, but it's not good out there. Jets 39, Bengals 38, a loss that we will be talking about for a long time, I imagine. Jay normally steps in and drops in a song. He has sent one from afar since he is not here with us today, saying Alice in Chains, No Excuses is his song of the day. And I think that properly applies to the Bengals defense. Charlie, do you have one as Jay's pinch hitter here today?
As I was walking home, I walked by E&O and the music's blaring and they're trying to get people to dance. And the song, very fittingly, We Found Love in a Hopeless Place by Rihanna, is playing over the loudspeakers. And the DJ, recognizing a dull crowd, said, quote, "We took the L, but we still got love. If you hate your ex, make some noise." And I think the metaphor was that the ex was the Bengals, but there still was not much noise.
It was a hopeless place today. There is no question about that at Paycor Stadium. All right, let's talk about it and hit the music.
It's the Walkout with Paul and Jay, with red hot stories from postgame, interviews, analysis, within the hour, right here at the Growler.
All right, this is the Walkout presented by Joseph Toyota of Cincinnati. We're going to get into all things Bengals defensive disaster here. We're going to unpack it. You're going to hear from Zach Taylor, BJ Hill, Barrett Carter. We're going to talk a bunch about leadership. We're going to talk about missed tackles. We're going to talk about whose fault it's not anymore. Maybe we'll find a new scapegoat after as we get diving into what exactly went down today. By any stretch, there's a lot to dissect with what happened today defensively against the New York Jets. We're going to talk a little bit about the offensive evolution, some things we saw from Joe Flacco, how this game ended, the final drives falling short on a day where the Bengals put up 38 points and did a ton of great stuff offensively, but inevitably it didn't matter. They lost. You'll have the Joseph Toyota drive of the game. We'll bring you some injury updates, some news, Joe Flacco, Trey Hendrickson amongst those dealing with things today, and we'll talk about what is next. Before we do that, though, Bengals fans, I want to remind you, when it comes to buying a car, experience matters. At Joseph Toyota Cincinnati, their team brings decades of knowledge, service, and trust to every customer who walks through the door. This isn't a dealership full of rookies. The staff at Joseph Toyota knows their stuff. They'll walk you through your options with upfront, honest, transparent advice, and make sure that you find the right vehicle for your lifestyle. So if you're looking for a Camry, a versatile RAV4, or a powerful Tundra that's ready for the tailgate, Joseph Toyota's team will put their experience to work so you drive away with exactly what you need, and none of those games that you find in other dealerships. And it doesn't stop after the sale now. So their service department is packed with seasoned technicians who know Toyotas inside and out. So you can count on fair pricing, expert care, and peace of mind. So if you're ready for a car buying experience that feels like having a veteran quarterback in your corner, head to Joseph Toyota of Cincinnati, right off Colerain, or online anytime, josephtoyota.com. Joseph Toyota, experience you can trust, honesty you can count on. Charlie, there is not much you can count on the defensive side of the ball. 502 yards for the New York Jets, whose offense was so bad, their owner was ripping the quarterback who was under center today for it being basically unable to complete a pass. But guess what? He didn't need to, because they ran for 252 yards on the ground. They had 4 rushes of 25-plus yards, just gashing. And the last 3 drives of the day for the Jets go touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. They overcome multiple 14-point deficits to end up winning 39-38. But start with the defense, Charlie. This was something you felt coming, something the Bengals had avoided the disaster of against Pittsburgh. And, some of the offensive problems earlier in this year had overshadowed what had been a gross group. And today, it finally, at the last second, came back to bite them in the worst possible time.
I'm going to go back to what could be the slogan of this year's Rewatch podcast. I won't make it the slogan of the Walkout podcast, because that would be up to Jay. But it all goes back to Marco Wilson Tuesday. All of the needs that went unaddressed that we spent months going back to last November saying the Bengals needed a pass rushing defensive tackle. They needed more depth at defensive end. They needed a stabilizing presence at linebacker. They needed another corner. They needed a free safety. To essentially have done nothing, and what Marco Wilson Tuesday is a reference to, it was the Tuesday of free agency. We sat back, looked back, and said the only guy the Bengals added today is Marco Wilson. This sounds like the type of thing that could cost them in October. And it's not just one game. It's 7-8 weeks of the season. It's half a season of just a fully formed 8 games, a fully formed legitimate trend that this is a defense that's too young, that's not talented enough, that was poorly assembled, and that the plan of player development that they believed Al could do with the snap of his fingers is going to take more time than the front office anticipated it would, which is another flaw on the backs of the coaching staff from the front office for developing this plan in the first place. It's looking worse than you could have even imagined.
I mean, that was the thing when I went back through the numbers of the first 7 games this past week. It's worse than it's worse than any year this century, almost by every single metric. This is worse than anything Lou Anarumo did, who, by the way, is sitting back being like, can we settle this debate now? It was not my fault. I wasn't the one messing this one up. These guys are not good enough. And I don't know how you come away from watching not just today. I mean, it's obvious today because the Jets were so bad offensively entering this game. They could hardly do anything all year. They'd scored, 11 and 6 points the last 2 weeks. And they're just moving the ball at will up and down the field. I don't know how. I thought coming into this game, this would be one of those days where you're like, okay, the young pass rushers are going to have an opportunity to gain some confidence. This is a Jets offensive line that had struggled mightily to protect. This is where everybody gets right, okay? This is where you get those guys some confidence, and off this defense, this struggling pass rush can go. Well, not only did that not happen, they didn't even touch Justin Fields. I mean, they didn't have a single quarterback hit. There was one quarterback hit on this game, and it was by Cam Taylor-Britt. They didn't even forget sacks. They're not even getting pressures hardly at all. There's no winning happening. You can't play in the NFL if you can't get after the passer at all. And that's before we talk about 250 plus yards on the ground where you're just getting moved and your second level is inexperienced and missing tackles. They're lost they look like a bunch of lost puppies out there, Charlie. They don't know where they're going. We can talk about leadership all we want. They just look lost still after multiple years of this.
Let's even continue to look at this from the macro 8 games, because the problem is you wish this were just one game if you're Zach Taylor, if you're this Bengals front office. But let's look at the defense through 8 games of the season. Hendrickson was playing well, but now he's a 30-year-old with a back/hip issue and could barely walk off the field. Miles Murphy and Shamar Stewart have had disappointing seasons completely and haven't had any of the pop, wow, flash moments in high leverage spots that you wanted to see. BJ Hill, who's the 5th highest paid player on the team, has given you nothing from a pass rush standpoint. TJ Slayton's your run stopper on one of the worst, maybe the worst run defenses in football. You have these 2 rookie linebackers out there who it's like, well, we need a spark. Let's hope the good outweighs the bad. And while you thought Carter was turning a quarter today, he and Knight both crashed back down later. All right, shout out DJ Turner. But even DJ, allowed, I believe, that running back touchdown at the end. He had a bad missed tackle that showed up. Dax Hill, we thought was coming on strong around week 4, but has taken a significant step back with his performance. I was stunned to see Cam Taylor-Britt in the starting lineup today. The plays that stick with me the most from this game are Geno Stone, chasing from behind like a dog running after the mailman on explosive runs down the field. That's Jordan Battle. And then Geno Stone, Geno Stone. That's the Bengals defense. That's the Bengals defense.
That's the Bengals defense. What are you hanging your hat on? And I think This takes us into the leadership discussion that was a popular one after the game that Zach Taylor set the tone on when he sat down at the podium post-game. Here's Zach Taylor, essentially what he opened up with after the loss.
Humbling, and we're going to have to really dig deep to bounce back next week.
Why did that kind of slip away from
I don't know. I mean, I wish I had that reason for you. You know, it's just someone's got to step up and make a play. Someone's got to make a play either way, just to separate that game for us. Create a turnover, get a guy on the ground, third down win, offensively explosive play in the game. Just never happened for us.
when the defense started to face adversity? Do you feel like it snowballed on that group?
Yeah, we just needed somebody to rise up and make a play. Someone just hold the fort down, you know, and I didn't see enough of that today.
Do you feel like you've got to kind of improve the intangibles there in adverse situations like that?
I think someone needs to step up and lead the group. That's what I'm waiting to see. Someone step up and lead the group and take some accountability over there and get this thing going the right way.
Someone needs to step up and lead the group. They don't have leaders. I don't, you know, how much is that what this is? I think this is they're not good enough players right now, more though than it is leadership. But that's also a part of the problem. You can find a way to serviceability if you can have some dudes that bow up, don't let it snowball on you, don't have the deer in the headlights look in the big moments. Like you that can help you. They don't have any of that right now. They don't have anything they can count on from a playing or from a leadership perspective. And you hear it in Zach Taylor's voice. Anyone step up and be part of the solution on defense. And it just doesn't feel like they are. I mean, the leaders that they thought they were investing in, you know, right? Who are your captains? Trey Hendrickson, right? We know what that is. Logan Wilson, who's been benched and requested a trade, and BJ Hill, who, you know, was never exactly really a full-on leader type in the first place, certainly not like some of the types that we've seen around here in the past. So you're asking young guys to do that, which that's how you end up in this spot. You didn't construct it where you had that in the first place.
It felt like when they voted for captains this year, they just voted for the old guys. And now it's week 8, and the guys you're counting on the most to lead the defense through the biggest points of adversity, which to me, I go back to, like, we see this all the time. We see this way too often. All right, you maybe have a late sub and you're breaking the huddle and there's emotion, and all right, everyone's got to get pointed and situated and lined up, and your head turns to a certain guy. You know, for their 2021-2022 Bengals, that was Von Bell. Vaughn would take over in those moments, and Vaughn was never hurt. But even if he was hurt, you know, they could have had Cheeto helping out. They could have had Mike Hilton helping out. Jermaine Pratt was a very, very vocal, communicative, and instinctual player. DJ Reader and Sam Hubbard. We can't say enough about those guys, and those guys' intangibles. They had leadership depth, and this defense is now like, it's the 2-point conversion, and I don't know what happened because the right guys aren't on the field, and there's a late sub, and I think, like, no disrespect to DJ Ivy, but like DJ Ivy's out there. Why is DJ Ivy out there? Like something was going wrong here. And who do you look to? And what is it? One of the rookie linebackers? What is it? You know, Jordan Battle, who I think has the most leadership potential on this group, but is still figuring out who he is as a player. It's a bunch of players who have to build confidence in themselves first. You have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help others. And should I keep going? This defense is struggling to breathe at the moment.
Struggling to breathe. Let's bring in, you talked to BJ Hill after this game, because the question was, and we were joking about this in the locker room, games like this, we go down to the locker room and we go and find captains. You find the guys that are the voices of that struggling side of the ball to help us figure it out. We both looked at each other and go, who do you talk to? That's part of the problem. Like, you don't even know who to talk to in terms of who's responsible for this. You did talk to BJ Hill, the last remaining starter captain that was out there, and he had this to say.
Where do you feel like that game got away from you guys on defense?
We can do our job at the end of the day.
How are you guys trying to respond to adversity, and maybe what prevented you guys from doing that?
Show ourselves on the foot. They ain't do anything special. We hurt ourselves.
Why has it kind of been a struggle to create a pass rush this season?
I would say it's a struggle. You gotta see what the offense is doing. get a lot of doubles, a lot of chips. It's kind of hard. There's no excuses. We still got to get there.
Talking to the media just now, Zach kind of pounded the table. He said, we need someone to lead this defense. How do you feel about the leadership of this defense right now?
We got the leaders. We just got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot.
How maybe have you tried to, step up, and what have you been doing during this time?
Just being the leader. Just got to do more.
How have you seen the young guys, now in new roles try to do the same?
Say again?
How have you seen the young guys maybe try to step up? Some of them are in new roles right now.
They're fine. The other guys just got to step up.
Thank you, BJ.
Inspiring
Comments are what they are. Like, I'm not trying to make a huge deal out of this, but between the two of us, we talked to the bulk of the guys. Like, I talked to Stone and Battle and Dax, and you talked to the linebackers yourself, and I talked to BJ. Like, we covered the bases. Of all the guys who have seen it and heard you talk about it as well, BJ was like the most in this stunned silence. Like, there was a lot more like, all right, like, let's figure this out. This is unacceptable. Like, that youthful, I don't know. I guess I'm going to use the word Zach did, accountability. You heard that from a lot of the younger guys. BJ was just stunned. And that was my biggest takeaway talking to him.
Well, I think you also end up with not just stunned, but this is years of stunned. Okay. The fact that this is still happening. If you're one of these guys like BJ Hill that's been here, look, there's a repetitive nature to this. How many games did they lose last year when they scored 30 plus points? Do we have to start trotting those stats back out again? I mean, this was so familiar. This is so much of what it has been around here. You looked at those guys and you could see it on their faces of, I can't believe it's still like this. And I think you feel that. And then so let's take the flip side. You're trying to cultivate new leadership. Barrett Carter, I think, brought into this mix to maybe develop into that. That's sort of part of who he is supposed to be. I asked him about that concept and some of the things he said after the game, and here's what Barrett Carter had to say.
So it's extremely frustrating. That game shouldn't have come down to that. That game shouldn't have been lost. Like, we should have put them away as a defense, and it's super frustrating. But just gotta watch the film and break it down, and see where those mistakes happened and see what went wrong, and can't have it happen again.
Zach kind of said, he's looking for leaders and guys to step up on defense. Obviously, you've just been put into the lineup and you're a rookie, but is there a way where you put that and say, hey, maybe I can try to be that guy? That's a hard thing for a rookie, and this just started playing to do, but can you?
Yeah, absolutely can. Leadership has no age, and that's been something that I've been told since I was a little kid playing football. So I'm definitely going to take that message to heart and, look myself in the mirror and, just bring more and do more for these guys. Because, like you said, this team, we have great leadership already, but we need to, games like that can't happen. And that's a reflection of, the leadership just needing to be better. So for me, I'm going to take that to heart and just, work on myself and just keep, trying to earn the respect from these guys and just try to keep leading them day in and day out.
I mean, I love that from Barrett Carter. You just don't want to have to be so reliant on it happening now with somebody like that, or Demetrius Knight, or somebody who is just a younger player in his second, third start, right? I think that's right. I think it is. This is not talking time. Like we talked to Jordan Battle and, you can step up. Stepping up and saying something is not what this is about. This is about exactly what he's talking about. And Joe Flacco mentioned this after the game when he was asked about how leaders develop. And he basically said, it's about the people that show up and are doing the right thing every single day, and all the practices that are all about trying to dig out of it and taking it seriously in every single way. That's the stuff that they're missing. And that's what Barrett Carter's talking about. And I appreciate that perspective. They just need more of it, and they need more veterans that are capable of pulling that off, guys that have been here for more than a few games in terms of being a starter. And it's a very intangible thing to try to get your hands on, but you certainly can see it out there how lost they look as a team.
I think Barrett Carter has it. I think Jordan Battle has it. I think you see a lot of those qualities from Demetrius Knight. I think Josh Newton has it. Newton isn't playing right now, but The problem is that from all those guys I named, while they have it, they haven't seen a lot of the alignments and the motions and the adjustments and setting the front and all the little things that just take time. You're also just seeing flat out technical technique errors. And it's funny, like, sure, maybe Logan wasn't messing up as much, but there's a push and pull here. Like, do you want to look for a spark, but have to live with some technical mistakes, or keep doing what you're doing? And maybe Logan wasn't missing as many tackles, but you get no spark. And the fact that you're even at this point from a roster construction where you're asking this question in the first place, unsure of where to look, or there's no right answer of where to look, shows how deep this hole is defensively.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a way out. Charlie, I go back to, I remember us talking about when to judge this defense. We were talking about this before the season started. I remember you saying, like, I'll talk about where they're at in week 8 when we get into the October. And I've always said, Halloween, the costumes are off, man. After Halloween, you are who you are. You've had time to go through figuring it out. You've had tried to make some adjustments. Real teams show up and expose themselves by the time you reach November, okay? This team has reached November, and their defense stinks. It is not getting better. The hope of it getting better is a long-term plan, not a short-term fix. And they're going to have to play their way around it, and they're having to try to do it with Joe Flacco. And what he has done is still a great story, and what's happening offensively is a great story. But this is the type of game that it's just so hard to recover when you're already had a hole and you have a winless team on the ropes and your defense just can't get a stop. And in almost every game this year, when it has turned time, outside of, I guess, the first game, right? Mostly the games later this season, every time they've felt like they've needed to have that defensive stop in the fourth quarter, they haven't been able to do it. They just haven't been able to do it. And it didn't happen at the worst time here again today. I do want to remind everybody, we are doing our next show at BetMGM. It's a little different. We're shaking it up a little bit. It's going to be at BetMGM. It's going to be in their special VIP room they have in the back, which is awesome back there. On the bye week, on November 9th, we're going to be doing a watch along. You can come watch the 1 o'clock window with us. We're going to hang out. We're going to have all those games on. We're still going to have special parlays that we're doing. We have our parlay boosts for you that you can only get if you come there. We give away tickets to the Patriots game. And we'll just be kind of hanging out, sort of like the way we do with the show, but no show. More just us hanging, talking Bengals, watching football, and doing the bets and all that stuff. If you want to be a part of it, just let us know how many are in your group. If you want to come and join us in the VIP room, their VIP room is just awesome back there. All the TVs and everything you can imagine. You've got all the food from Tom's Watch Bar and everything. So send it to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. Let us know if you want to join. Charlie and I will be there. We'll be hanging out, enjoying the games, and as will Mark and Jay and the whole crew. So we hope to see you down there. All right, let's touch on the offensive evolution a little bit here. Because I thought that was my story. I had half written, Charlie. I'm not bitter about it. I liked where I had gone with it. I really enjoyed where I was writing about the offense, and then I had to basically copy, paste, save for tomorrow, probably. I don't know where it's going to go. But I love the offensive evolution that we're seeing. You could see the team that was in the chaotic switch to Joe Flacco take the next step, where you saw more of the, like, okay, get them started with Jamar and then play off of that with the run game stuff that has really started to turn into a thing. Then the under center play action, deep shot to T if you're going to focus on the other stuff. It really felt like all those middle runs that are now becoming a thing for them, and they were able, this is a good Jets defense. They're not the greatest thing in the league. There's a reason they're 0-7, but it's a good, solid group over there. They were able to really dictate to them, and I thought you saw that from Flacco and his comfort level and seeing stuff, and they were more than good enough to win this game. Like there's nothing about this offense I'm going to hold against them, even with how the last 2 drives went.
What I find so interesting, and usually I'm not a box score guy, but excuse me, we all know the run game got going. But then the pass game, Jamar, 12 targets, including, I bet 8 of them were like screens, and there was an RPO for a big gain. Noah Fant, 3 catches. They love that under center play action leak. Chase Brown, 3 catches, 32 yards out of the backfield. T. Higgins, 1 catch. Now it was that explosive touchdown. Tanner Hudson, 1 catch. Yoshi, no catches. And no other receiver or tight end had a catch. So it was a very almost up the middle offense, with the exception of that deep ball down the sideline to T. And that was an evolution. That included a lot of, the play action stuff, like you mentioned, run concepts, under center, shotgun. They had a lot of tools. They used the middle of the field very effectively, and a very successful game from a game planning perspective. I want to go back through tomorrow just for my own, figure it out, what really happened on that last drive. But everything before that was, 39 points or 38 points.
38 points. Well, or as Ted Karras said when asked about 38 points, didn't score 40 doesn't mean shit. But at the end of the day, I just feel like it's true. At some points, this team, the way that they are, they're going to be asking the offense to apparently do more than 38. And boy, that's a broken ass record around here, isn't it? It's just like how many, this goes all the way back. This is the 3rd straight year of games like this. They're always like this. And that's just the crazy part of it all.
And what's sad is this is exactly how they wanted it to look like. We heard this in February. Oh, if we could just get a 14-3 lead, then that opens up the run game. That opens up the whole call sheet. They love saying that. And then wait for it. The edge rushers really get to pin their ears back. And then a 14-3 lead becomes a 21 or whatever it is. I don't know. Is a 24-10 lead good enough for you? Is a 31-16 lead good enough for you? Apparently not.
Apparently not. It doesn't matter about pinning the ears back when the other team can just run it for 25-yard chunks 4 times. And that's how that happens. All right, let's get to the Joseph Toyota drive of the game. And you mentioned it, Charlie. I think that we'll want to take another look at it and go a little bit deeper. But, the last drive, the Bengals get the ball. Joe Flacco comes out Willis Reed style after having to go to the locker room with some sort of shoulder, the way he got hit on the only sack on him on the game, but right before that. Browning's up throwing on the side. Flacco's getting looked at by trainers. He goes into the training room. The Bengals defense, of course, lets up the score. Right as it's time for the offense to almost get ready to go out when it's kickoff time, Flacco comes running out. You're like, the legend is about to grow. Unbelievable. Like, this is going to be true legend stuff. Out he comes. He goes out there. They quickly get moving. The first down that we hear so much about, right? They get a 12-yard run from Chase Brown, a 7-yard reception for Jamar Chase. And then it stalls. You end up with 4 plays, 2 of them targeting Andre Joeseph, who the Jets said, double, beat us with that guy. We're going to make you beat us with an Andre one-on-one. And he wasn't able to. One was, I don't know that either of them were necessarily games, catches you expect anybody to make. Again, I had to do a closer look at it, but they were very contested, but couldn't get open, couldn't make the play, couldn't have that third guy able to do it. And the game ends up ending with them just going 20 yards and then the 4th down incompletion to Andre.
This is a hard thing for me to say about a quarterback who I've only watched for a couple weeks, but after coming out of the tunnel, Flacco's throws looked flat. So I think the injury in some capacity was impacting the zip he was able to put on those balls over the middle of the field. Again, it's the first thing I want to look for tomorrow to really analyze and assess what happened, but throws felt flat. Zach said it was a tough decision between Flacco and Browning off the bench. And, we all know what the confidence level in Jake is, see the Flacco trade. That to me is a sign of where Flacco is at as he came out of the tunnel.
Yeah. And why they tried to sneak a run in there. If that drive would have gone on a little further, we definitely would have been talking about the run and the huddle decision afterwards. They ran so much time off the clock there where they weren't even at midfield yet, even with timeouts in their pocket. Was super curious. Inevitably, we didn't find out if that was going to come back to bite them. But yeah, you're right. It certainly felt different. And the team that needed just one more offensive score, despite 38, wasn't able to go do it. All right. Hendrickson, same issue. Looks to be an aggravation of that hip injury. that kept him out against Pittsburgh. He leaves before halftime, does not come back, ruled out. Back, hip, whatever we're calling it now, not great. You saw him feeling it during the game, even when he was still in there trying to tough it out. I just think that it might be a thing where you have to sit him down next week with the bye coming after that and say, we'll have to see you on the flip side when you get to Pittsburgh, because he has to be healthy. He's obviously more important than anyone right now when you consider the state of the defensive line around him. And if he's just going to keep doing these stops and starts, you've got to try to get him right. And you have that bye week around the corner. Maybe that's enough to help, but we'll monitor that closer and get more to you on that as the week goes on. Like you mentioned, Flacco coming out and he said he was okay after the game. I literally never trust a player telling me that they're feeling okay after a game from an injury. But if there is someone I would, it would be a dude who's been around as long as Joe Flacco. But still something worth monitoring this week. I'm not going to all of a sudden say, yeah, Flacco's fine because he said so. We'll get more reports on that tomorrow and see what pops up. Next game, Bengals, Bears back here at Paycor Stadium, 1:00 next week. The Bears lose to the Ravens. So the Ravens all of a sudden sneaking back. Lamar Jackson's getting closer to coming back. They've got some momentum to get back into this thing. And the Bengals just lost to the winless New York Jets. And it was all of the goodwill, all of the energy and momentum and the hope that was finally back with this team from that Thursday night win against Pittsburgh. It's immediately all the way back. It just removes all of it, and you're right back here at the same spot where you just can't get anything going. Harry L here today at Paycor Stadium in the hopeless place for the Bengals defense right now. I don't know, man. I don't know where it goes from here. We'll keep talking about it, but if you can't slow down the New York Jets, I don't know who you're going to slow down. And that's a problem.
And now said Johnson comes back to try to spark the pass rush, and the Bengals decide who they want their starting corner. Like these are the only clubs they have to play is more snaps for said Johnson and CTB or Josh Newton. Like there's no other Barrett Carter waiting not that Barrett Carter's been successful, but there's no one else who could ascend into a starting spot and develop. They're out. That's it. And what is it? 10 more weeks to try to salvage any sort of defensive anything.
Yeah, the hope is that all these rookies that they're playing get better and don't hit a rookie wall. But either way, we'll be here to keep checking it out for you. Don't leave us. We're here for you, okay? We're here to be therapy. We're here to be analysts. We're here to do it all. We'll have the rewatch up tomorrow, 8:00 on the YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out. We'll get to that. And we will have PD and J with Mo and Who Day Light and all the things you expect from us during the week. Looking forward to getting to all that, and we hope to be catching up with you again soon. So for Charlie, I am Paul, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody.